So I would consider myself a professional Pokemon player. So if you don't know, I finished rank 1 in the world in the 2024 season with 1,612 championship points. I played a total of 13 regionals, all 3 ICs and worlds. So in this video, I'm going to break down roughly what the finances look like for a professional player. So I don't think there's no one really sees this kind of thing in the competitive scene. Like in general, people don't really talk about all the finances. So I think it would be really interesting if people saw the finances for someone like me, especially since coming from Australia, the costs look very different compared to most people. So I think the first thing I'll break down is where all the points came from. So as you can see, my placements that I ended up getting would be, so I got a top 32 at the regionals, two top eights, a top four, a second, and a first. And those were the regional points that were included because the best finish limit is 6, so it takes your best 6 placements. Additionally, I got top 64, top 32, and top 16 at the 3 ICs. So all 3 of those were counted. And in the end, I got 5 cup wins, 1 top, 4 at a cup, and 6 challenge wins. And that put me at a total of 372 from locals. If you add all of that up, the total amount that got counted was 1612. So from the amount of boxes that I won, I believe I got 24 boxes total, but I do not include that in terms of any of the money in this. So just to know, that's just like a heads up. Another thing to note is the expenses. They're not entirely accurate because I sometimes paid in USD, I sometimes paid in AUD, and the conversions weren't always the same. When I calculated the expenses, I didn't just go back. I just used like whatever the rate was on the day that I ran the calcs. So it might be like 1 or 2% off, maybe up to like 3% off, like either more expensive or less expensive. But it doesn't really change the numbers that much. So in terms of events, my first 4 regionals was basically the first time that I traveled for, at least the first time that I did a major trip for foreign regionals. I ended up doing Peoria, Sacramento, Lille, and Toronto. In the end, I probably could have spent a lot less on some of the things. I think I could have saved money on flights if I was a little bit better at the time with how to organize that. Accommodation, I probably could have saved a little bit. The transport, I definitely could have saved a bit on. In the end, I spent about 4,500 USD and I made 5,000, so I barely broke even. That was with a top 8 finish. So I guess that's gonna summarize how insane some of these expenses are. Um, the next event was LAIC. I went to LAIC with no other events in between. Like it was just the one event. I got the 3,500 for the travel to attend the tournament, and then I got top 64, so I got 5,500 total from the event. That gave me a really nice profit because I didn't even spend that much to go compared to how much the travel gives me. Next event was Brisbane. I managed to get top 32, but just the top 32, which doesn't feel like good when the event's not that big. But I did get $1,000, spent about 400, so I made a bit of money back. Then the next one was Charlotte and Liverpool. Charlotte was the only event that I didn't make day 2 this year. I played at 6-2 and I lost. And yeah, apart from that, I made at least 8-2 at everything else. But at least Liverpool went very well. I managed to just go really deep. It was a bit unfortunate though that against Fabrizio, in all 4 games we played, I didn't see a VIP or a nest ball on turn 1. Like 2 of the games I didn't see Comfy on turn 1, and 2 of the other games I saw Comfy, but I only saw 1 Comfy. Where if I had at least 2 Comfies, those games would be more playable and I may have been able to win. It was a 50-50 I think uh in the last game of finals in game 2, but he won the coin flip, so I didn't even get a chance to play game 3. Melbourne was the week after, and I won, so now after Charlotte and Melbourne, the profits were really high. One thing that is, not Charlotte, but Liverpool. One thing to note is I I probably spent, well, I definitely spent way more than I should have for Shaw and Liverpool. I probably could have cut costs all the way down to about 2,400 if I just made better decisions. I made a lot of poor decisions and spent a lot of money that I kind of regret spending. So I made a lot less money than I should have. The next one was Vancouver, EYC, and Perth. I was doing really well at Vancouver. I was 802. Then I lost. Then I tied. Then I lost. Then I lost, and then I lost. So I end up missing money. I end up getting like one match point away from cash, and so I was really sad. EUIC though, I did manage to get top 32, and I barely made day 2, but I had a really strong day 2, so I managed to get 3,000 from that. And Perth, I got top 4, so it was another strong run. It was a bit disappointing at Perth though, where I went 1103 in Swiss with it was one ID, but it was 1102, then an ID, and then a win, and I lost in top 4, which it felt kind of bad to have my first loss in cut and to only get top 4, but $5,000 still not that bad. But with the $5,000 from Perth, the 3,500 from the travel and the 3,000 from EUIC, the top 32 placement, I walked away with about 8,000 profit from that. Indianapolis and Stockholm. So Indy, I bubbled out. It was quite unfortunate, but honestly, my deck kind of sucked, and I deserved it for not being in touch with the metagame. And yeah, Stockholm, I kind of just didn't want to play side. I didn't have any confidence with any deck. I played a Lost Box deck. It wasn't even the best list, to be honest, but it was kind of good, so it was good enough, so I got a really strong result there. And I did really well until like a very unfortunate top 8, but it happens. The next one was LA. This was probably like my worst event. I spent significantly more on accommodation than I should have, because like I accidentally booked a room that I couldn't cancel like immediate, like very close to the date. Like I didn't realize that it had like a cancellation date that was like ending in like March, not May or something. So I couldn't cancel it, and then I didn't fill the room, so I ended up eating like a massive cost. So my overall expenses for LA were ridiculous. That's like the biggest mistake I made, and where a lot of the money lost in the season came from. I also could have saved a lot of money at Indy and Stockholm if I planned things better. So overall with those two, like that was pretty poor. Like I made a lot less money than I should have between these two events, and I ended up just losing money around this time of the year. And AIC, it went pretty well. I managed to go 6-1-2 into day 2, which is not the best, but a 5-0-1 day 2 and bubbled 9th, which is really sad, but I did get $5,000 and I got the travel, so I walked away with about 7,000 profit, which is not bad. Worlds, yeah, I was a bit disappointed because like all my losses weren't because like my deck like wasn't very good or anything. It was more so that I just made mistakes. Like all the games were winnable, and I either made like some error that just lowered my chances of winning the game, or just like completely threw the game. And if I didn't do that so many times, I would have definitely done a little bit better at least. So I ended up like getting 93rd. I mean, I still walked away with 1,500 because of the travel board, which was nice, but it's, it doesn't feel good to have a poor Worlds result. So in the end, I ended up making about, I made 55,000. I spent about 21,283. I think I may have missed a couple bits of food that I paid in cash, so it may have been like a little bit of like closer, maybe like add an extra like 100 and something, 200, because I didn't have to spend that much cash, to be honest. And basically that gives me a net gain of $33,716 before taxes. After taxes, because it's kind of difficult to deduct things, I'm not entirely sure how much I could get back, but in the end, I'm going to be paying about 7,500 in taxes, which is quite a lot. Because the problem is I'm getting charged based on my overall, because I'm not from the US. It's a bit complicated. I might be able to get ways to reduce the amount of tax, but it's a little bit tricky, so I'll be working on that. So in the end, after that, it was about 26,000 total in USD, all things up after taxes and everything. And yeah, this year I will be doing things very similarly. The big difference though is I'm probably gonna be a little bit smarter with some of my decisions. I reckon I can cut 10 to 15%, maybe even 20% of my total expenses, with, or at least per trip, but I think it would be close to like 15% is my guess. Maybe 10% because I'll probably make some more dumb decisions at some point. So I expect my overall expenses per event to be less, but I'm not sure if I can get the same kind of results. But I will try my best. I do have a lot of events as well, so I have a lot of opportunities. I gotta just keep trying my best, and hopefully I can get some good results. Anyway, I hope you liked that video. I would appreciate any feedback, and let me know if you're interested for anything else like this.